Hey guys, welcome back to Second Take. It is Casual Friday once again. I'm in my Rocket shirt, even though we're not in the finals and we didn't even make it very far, but that's not even the point. Everything's good over here. Tell me how you are, Armand.
Well, it's been a rough week for me. As you know, Oklahoma City did not advance to the NBA Finals. We lost in 6 games to the Spurs. The Yankees are doing awful, and I think I just caught a cramp in my leg, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue the show today.
LeBron, is that you?
I don't know. My hairline's starting to push back a little bit. I don't know.
We will get to that very soon, but first I want to start off a little college baseball, which we've honestly never talked about on here. Right now, the college baseball is in the super regionals. So first they had the regionals, and I've tried to understand this, but it's kind of difficult. Basically, you're in a 3-team regional, and you have to beat everyone best 2 out of 3. None of that really matters because Texas beat Texas A&M, which we all love because we've all really missed beating the Aggies and everything. So Texas has moved on to the Super Regionals, along with a bunch of other teams like Texas Tech, who has never made it to the Super Regionals before. And right now, the Super Regionals is you just play one team and it's best 2 out of 3. So right now, Texas is playing Houston, and if they win 2 out of 3, they go to Omaha for the College World Series and all of that, which is another thing I don't know how that works either. But basically, there's a potential that 3 teams from Texas can make it to the World Series, College World Series, which would be Texas, Texas Tech, or TCU. So State of Texas is looking pretty good right now, and we'll talk about that even more when we talk about the Spurs, but there's some college baseball for y'all. I know we need to talk some MLB, and it's a very hard topic for us because the Yankees are struggling, and I can only say that so much. Struggling. It's hard. I can't talk about it.
Yeah, first I want to say rest in peace to Don Zimmer. He was a part of the Yankees organization for a while. Joe Girardi seemed a bit distraught talking to the press about how Don Zimmer was like a mentor to him. We're really going to miss him a lot, and we hope his family can deal with this. But the Yankees, as a baseball team, injuries to CC Sabathia, Ivan Nova, Michael Pineda. We just got Carlos Beltran back, but our bats are not producing, and just recently, we faced 2 of the worst pitchers in the MLB on the Minnesota Twins, Ricky Nolasco and some other dude who isn't even relevant, but we couldn't hit him, and we're just not winning games. So it's a very hard time to be a Yankee fan. We can only win when Tanaka or Kuroda's pitching, and that's 2 out of every maybe 5 or 6 games, and that's just not good enough. Yankees are used to being successful, used to being champions, but right now it's not looking like that's what we're going to be this season. So things need to turn around. The trade deadline isn't too far away, so we need to make moves if we're going to try to win games, and we need to look for pitching.
Actually, a little funny comment that I like is Mariano Rivera said that he could see Yasiel Puig on the Yankees, and y'all know I love that because I love Yasiel Puig. And actually, it's been a little over a year since he made his MLB debut. He is still wowing everybody. You know I love Yasiel. Dodgers have been pretty successful with him. We do need to talk about the fact that the Yankees played the Mariners, which we knew was going to be a heated one because we're playing our old man Robbie Cano, but the Mariners killed us. So, moral of the story is the Yankees need to pick it up because Armand and I are really hurting over here, and we need something from our Yankees.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on. Armand, you want to talk some NHL for us?
Absolutely, yes. Another sport we don't really talk about too much, the National Hockey League is in the Stanley Cup Finals, which is the equivalent of the NBA Finals or the World Series for them. And the Stanley Cup Finals will pit the New York Rangers versus the Los Angeles Kings. Game 1 was a thriller. The Kings went down 2 goals very early on, but in the end, in overtime, Justin Williams hit a very clutch slap shot to make a goal. Congratulations to the Kings. I will be watching this a lot more closely. It's good to be versatile as an aspiring analyst, know a lot of different sports. I'd like to see it go to Game 7 just because Game 7s are exciting. And the New York Rangers are pretty close to me, so why not? I might as well support them. And yeah, so it was a very exciting Game 1. I'm looking forward to a very exciting Game 2. We know that the Kings are very resilient. As I said, they went down 2 goals and they ended up winning the game. So the Rangers are going to have to adjust their strategy a little bit, so are the Kings, because you can't always go down 2 goals and expect to win in the end. But overall, very exciting game one, very exciting series.
Okay, moving on to some NFL. We always have some news for y'all. Jadeveon Clowney, the #1 pick in the draft, just signed a deal that we all knew was going to come, obviously. But he is now signed on to the Houston Texans. I believe it's $22.5 million guaranteed. So not too shabby, Jadeveon, not too shabby. And then we got Colin Kaepernick, who signed quite a deal. I believe it was $110 million over 6 years with $61 million guaranteed. So you could say Colin Kaepernick is going to be living quite comfortably for a little while. Yep. Actually, this is a very weird thing about our 49ers over there. Vernon Davis was on ESPN yesterday to discuss the fact that he is now going to be a publicly traded stock. Through a thing called Fantex, athletes can now put themselves up as a publicly traded stock, and you can buy shares in them. This rubbed me wrong. I was thinking, you can buy a share of Vernon Davis? That sounds a little questionable to me. That's sounding a little bit like slavery. You're buying some of a person. Rubs me wrong. What Vernon Davis is trying to do is make more money, obviously. I don't know if this is the way to do it. I'm actually quite surprised this is allowed by the NFL. The NFL seems to not want people to be making money on their own in any type of way except for endorsements. And this is a weird situation. Basically, Fantex has to decide who they'll allow to pick up. If someone is injury prone, they won't pick them up. I think there's some other player who tried to join who couldn't because he's known to be injury prone, and it's a whole spiel. But Vernon Davis, if you want to buy a share in Vernon Davis, go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird move, but I kind of understand it because what you see nowadays with celebrities and musicians and actors is that they're doing more than just their one trade. Like, musicians are starting clothing lines, and actors are trying to become singers. They're trying to become more marketable, more versatile, so they can make more money. So I get the move because the 49ers aren't paying Vernon Davis all that much money. And with the Colin Kaepernick thing, the smart thing the 49ers did is they gave him a $12 million signing bonus. Because what you see with most signing bonuses is they're about $25 to $40 million, and then those teams can't re-sign or give contract extensions to other players. But with the $12 million signing bonus, the 49ers now can re-sign Vernon Davis to more money or re-sign Michael Crabtree or anyone that they want to give more money to. So Vernon Davis could very well have some more money coming his way. I mean, he's a very talented tight end, obviously. He's had a lot of success with the 49ers, so it's in their best interest to keep him. But as far as him making himself a brand that you can buy and sell and trade or whatever, I get it. He wants to make money. At the end of the day, everyone wants money.
Yeah, that's true. And they were asking him, they were like, are you mad that Colin Kaepernick signed this big deal? And, of course, he gave the Hollywood answer saying, oh, no, I'm always very happy for my teammate. But we all know if someone is making 20 times what you're making, you're going to be a little jealous. And that's normal. It's okay, Vernon Davis. Admit it. It's all right. I want to move on to talk about some NBA. Is that okay?
I'm totally down. Let's do it.
As Armand mentioned, the Spurs are the ones who moved on, as did the Heat. So we got a little rematch from last year. However, hoping this year is going to be different. Coming into this, the Spurs have won every single game won in this playoffs, and they did the exact same last night. Tony Parker was questionable with his ankle that he injured in the last game versus the Thunder. He started last night. He was in it. He was ready. Good to go. Basically, we open up this game, and it's neck to neck, you know, like very close score. I don't think any of them either team had a very large lead at any point in the game. It seemed always that they were just basket after basket, basket after basket. Yeah. Tim Duncan had a great game. He was extremely consistent. I believe, 21 points?
21 and 10.
Yeah, double-double for him. Tony Parker, good game, of course. Manu Ginobili, all these guys, good game. Then we look over at the Heat. Ray Allen had quite a dunk that no one was really expecting because none of us knew Ray Allen could still move like that. But he did it, and he did it well. And let me talk about LeBron real quick. As Armand mentioned earlier, LeBron went down with a little cramp, you know, a little leg cramp, which we've all had before. It's not fun. However, he not only went down, he needed to be carried for 5 feet, which he could have easily hobbled. And then he sits on the bench crying in pain. We get it. You were hurt. You felt bad. We understand. The Spurs had some technical difficulties in their stadium. Actually, the AC was broken, and it was a very hot day in Texas yesterday, so it got pretty steamy up in there. It was about 90 degrees during the game down on the court, so I understand. It was hot, LeBron. You cramped. You weren't drinking enough fluids. We get it. However, you do not need to be a baby about a cramp. It is not that serious, and you lost the game. But that was not because LeBron was out. It was because once he went out, the Heat just stopped playing. They played like the game was over, but there was probably 3 minutes left in the game. It ended up with the Spurs just going on a little route of their own. They ended up winning the game by a pretty substantial lead that they didn't have for the entire game.
Yep.
So you can't blame LeBron for the Heat losing the game. You can blame the other players on the team. As Armand and I discussed earlier before the show started, this is an entire NBA team. These are professionals. I find it hard to believe that none of them can play in place of LeBron. You cannot blame your loss on one person going out with a leg cramp.
Yeah, absolutely. But before I go into my spiel about getting on LeBron for acting the way he was, I want to say that I had the opportunity to watch this game as an unbiased spectator. I don't like either team. The Spurs bother me because they eliminated the Thunder. I don't like LeBron, so by transitive property, I'm not a fan of the Heat. So I don't really have a personal stake in this game. Now, my issue with LeBron James, Tony Parker in Game 6 versus the Thunder, he went out with an ankle injury. The Spurs still managed to win that game. Tony Parker is a very important player on the Spurs. Obviously one of their 3 best players, arguably their best player to some people. Now, LeBron James went out. They still have Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Mario Chalmers who can play, Ray Allen. They have a lot of pieces who can put points on the board if necessary, and it just seemed like as soon as LeBron went out, nobody wanted to play anymore. And that's not going to win you basketball games. And that's why I understand what Jill said before when she says that the Spurs are the best team in the NBA, because they are a team. Everyone can contribute. If one player goes out, the other 11 can pick up the slack and they can end up winning the game. Miami needs to fix that. The first quarter, we saw a lot of sloppy play on both sides. The Spurs turned the ball over a lot. Tim Duncan had 21 points, 10 rebounds, shot 9 for 10, but he also had 5 turnovers. Miami is not a team you want to turn the ball over against. LeBron got out in transition, had a lot of dunks. They had transition threes. Miami looked good. It was neck and neck, as Joe said. No one really pulled ahead significantly. Manu Ginobili was lighting it up in the first half. He shot 3 for 6 from the three-point in the end. Chris Bosh was very aggressive. We saw a really good play on both sides. Miami looked like they were ready. But in the end, LeBron James went out initially with a cramp. He asked Spoelstra to take him out. He went out. He came back in. He made a layup. He decided to go out again. He's a 6'8", 270-pound train, yet he needed to be carried to the bench. And not only did he need to get carried to the bench, but when he was sitting there with his leg cramps, you see, like when Tony Parker went out with his ankle injury against the Thunder, he tried to run around and get the feeling back in his ankle so he could come back in. LeBron James sat there on the bench looking extremely fatigued, like he looked like he was going to cry. He didn't look like he wanted to play basketball anymore. And I understand that, LeBron, you're hurt. LeBron doesn't get hurt often, so maybe he doesn't know how to tolerate injuries. But at the same time, you're the star on the Miami Heat, and clearly they need you to win games. So you need to try to rehabilitate whatever injuries you have to come back in the game and win the game, because that's what you do. And I was not happy with that, and I'm going to get on LeBron for that. Yes, cramps happen, injuries happen, but you have to learn to play through them, because ultimately it's clear that your team needs you, and that's really going to hurt Miami if LeBron happens to go out again in another game. Like, they can't keep making the excuse that, oh, LeBron wasn't out, so we couldn't win, because that's just not – it's not good enough for me. So that's my spiel.
LeBron is the biggest baby. I'm not saying he is a bigger baby than everyone else. I'm saying he is literally the biggest baby. This man is 6'8", and he is a baby. We know this. He goes down with a nose injury, and he's wailing around. As Armand just said, he was sitting on the bench looking like he was almost near tears. When Tony Parker went out, there was no attention on him. He just had an ice pack on his ankle, and he was watching the game. I don't think LeBron even looked at the game when he was on the bench, because everything was about him. The issue I have with this is not that he's such a baby. You know, everyone tolerates pain differently. It's the example that he's setting for the rest of the team, that it's all about me. It's basically what he was That's how I interpreted it. Because he didn't care about the game once he went out. He was very selfish through it. And I think, everyone gets cramps. What you do is you stretch it out, you make it work. A cramp isn't a lifelong, injury. You just have to stretch it out, get it going, and you're okay. It can be gone in literally 2 minutes if you just handle it right. So, no, it was not necessary for him to sit crying on the bench because, as you just said, if someone goes out with a cramp, you run around, you get it going. That's what Tony Parker did with his ankle. He was trying to push it. LeBron doesn't want to push it because he's a selfish player. And I'm not trying. I know I always hate on LeBron. He is a great player. I'm not going to discredit him for that. But I do not like the way he presents himself. I don't like the way how he acts so selfishly. I did not like this injury thing at all. And I hate the fact that everyone is using his injury and the fact it was hot in the arena as an excuse. I'm sorry. I didn't know that the Spurs were immune to heat just because they live in Texas. Last time I checked, Miami is pretty hot too. So no, the heat in there was not the issue. I promise. The issue was the team didn't play as well, and they were not a team. When Tony Parker goes out, it's a team. When LeBron goes out, it's just a bunch of lost players. They need to not be so dependent on a player or a star and start being a team. They did not act like a team. The Heat are not a team like the Spurs are. So this is an issue that the Heat need to address. Erik Spoelstra needs to address this. Instead of saying, this is what Spoelstra said after the game, that it hurt him to see LeBron down on the court like that. It didn't hurt you to see your team not playing at all? Why are you focused on LeBron? Why is this about LeBron? Why isn't this about the fact that no one else wanted to play once he went out? There's 3 minutes left. There's more game to play. The Heat didn't have to lose that game.
Absolutely.
It was neck and neck when LeBron went out. So I don't understand why the focus is on the fact that this guy has a cramp. We all get leg cramps. We understand they hurt. They are hard to walk on. I've had a leg cramp before, but I'm still not nursing that injury because it was a while ago. You get over it. It is not something that takes hours to get rid of. It can literally be gone in 2 minutes, as I've said. LeBron, you got to get it together because I'm not buying these excuses. Because if LeBron keeps cramping up, the Heat are going to say, oh, the only reason that the Spurs won the playoffs was because I kept cramping. No, LeBron, it's not about you and your cramps. It's about the fact that your team didn't play like a team.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And at the end of the series, I do believe that the Heat have a very good chance of winning the series. And I do believe if LeBron was still in the game, they would have won the game. But LeBron went out with 3 minutes and 29 seconds left. I believe the Heat were up by 2. And then the Spurs outscored them 21-9, and they went on a 31-9 run to end the game. That's absolutely unacceptable. They have Dwayne Wade.
That's what I'm saying. Where was the rest of the team? You are acting like people are, not you, but people are acting like LeBron is the only person on that team, and otherwise they're a bunch of lost little puppies.
Yeah.
You still have D. Wade. D. Wade has rings of his own. Yeah. D. Wade is a player. Chris Bosh is a player. Ray Allen is a player. Mario Chalmers. You have players. How is that acceptable that all of a sudden at the end of the game, in the last 3 minutes, the Spurs just destroy you?
Yeah. No, LeBron completely deserves the fault for going out and not coming back in. But the other 11 players on the Heat absolutely need to take the blame for this loss too, because it's a team basketball game. It's not a LeBron basketball game. Ultimately, it's 5 people on the court. So, and LeBron played a very good game. I believe he had 25 points. He played 33 minutes, so he played a significant amount of the game. But so did Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and everyone else. So if LeBron goes out, if I'm Dwayne Wade, I have 3 rings. I know what I'm capable of. I say, okay, it's my time to take over. It's LeBron's team. He's out. I'm the second best player. I'm taking over. Chris Bosh had a very good game. I don't understand why he didn't decide to shoot more. Ray Allen shot 50%, had 16 points. Rashard Lewis was playing well. I don't understand why these guys didn't decide to take over and play when LeBron goes out. That's a perfect opportunity to show what you can do and show that Miami is more than just King James.
I know. This is the problem. Erik Spoelstra, I'm looking at you. You need to make your team a team. I have said that Greg Popovich, in my opinion, is the only coach in the NBA who actually coaches. Yeah. Some argue that Erik Spoelstra is a good coach, and I don't see that at all. And last night proved that. He did nothing to coach this team. He simply went and kissed LeBron James's boo-boo. That's all he did. Erik Spoelstra, you need to coach because the way your team acted last night, the way they played once LeBron went out was unacceptable. No team should play like that. I can guarantee any other team, if they lose their star, they're still going to try and play. They will not play like the game is over. I watched the game with some Heat fans, and they were even saying, why is the Heat playing like the game's over? They were falling back. They weren't guarding shots. They were just letting the Spurs score for no reason. The game was not over. They had a lead when LeBron went out. So there is no excuse for this play. And if they keep doing that type of thing, they stand no chance of winning this series at all. And I've already said that I think the Spurs have the upper hand in this, and a lot of analysts have agreed with me. The Spurs are going into this way hotter than the Heat are. The Spurs had a better year than they did last year, and the Heat had a worse year this year than they had last year. I see the Spurs winning this. I see them winning it in 7. But then again, we never know what's going to happen. I think they're going to win. What's going to happen is similar to the Thunder series. You're going to win the games you have at home because both teams are very good at home. However, if the Heat keep playing like this, it's not going to 7. It's maybe it'll go to 5 because the Spurs know how to handle that. The Spurs can outmatch you when you're not even trying. As I've said before, when you have a team with 3 stars, you know the defensive strategy is to guard and stop those 3 stars. When you're playing the Spurs, you have to stop everybody on that court because all of them can shoot, all of them can score, all of them can guard, all of them can do everything necessary to win the game. The Heat do not have that same thing. They treat their 3 stars as the only 3 people on that court. Actually, it's more so LeBron. They treat LeBron as the only person on that court. And without him there, as I said, they're lost puppies. They were looking around like, what do we do with the basketball? We're supposed to put it in the basket, right? Yes. Yes, you are. That is how you win a game. You shoot, you score, you get points. Heat, that's what you do. The Spurs know how to do this. Every play on the Spurs can fill in for the other one. If Tony Parker goes out, they got it. Tim Duncan goes out, they still got it. Yeah. You cannot say the same for the Heat, as we saw last night. So I don't think that they can adequately match up in this series. I don't see the Spurs losing. I just don't see it because they're outplaying them. Plain and simple.
Well, that was one game, and I was very disappointed in the way Miami played. But at the same time, we've learned year after year that Miami is a team that you cannot count out. And it was an awful game 1, but I don't think this is going to happen every game. I think that will not going to be a broken AC every game that he can blame his bad play on. He's going to get it together, and other people are going to step up. So I do see it going to 7 games. It's going to be a very tough series for Miami, tougher than last year, even though they have a healthier Dwayne Wade, so they have more to offer, more to bring to the table. It's going to be a very tough series because the Spurs are coming in determined. At the beginning of the season, Greg Popovich showed the Spurs the Game 6 loss where Ray Allen made that corner 3. And we saw Ray Allen make a corner 3 last game. I was like, wow. Like I think he was attacking their emotions with that one. Like it was very reminiscent. But I do think it's going to be a very good series. The Heat have become very complacent. That they've gone to this is their 4th straight NBA Finals appearance. They've won 2 straight, so they are complacent. I feel like they kind of feel as though things are going to fall into their lap. And the Spurs are not going to allow that. Greg Popovich is not going to allow that. He expects excellence from the Spurs at all times, and they play nearly perfect basketball. So it's going to be a very interesting Game 2 in San Antonio. The AC is going to be fixed, so it's going to be even on both sides. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens, but ultimately not impressed with the way.
You're completely right. The Spurs, the Heat are playing complacent. They think that they're going to win. They think, we've won 2 already. The 3-peat's going to happen. It's going to be easy. And that's not the case. You have to look at it differently. The Spurs are playing. They care. They want this ring. I don't see that from the Heat. I don't think if the Heat play like they played last night, it's not theirs. I know it was only game 1, but still, just because they won that first, or they've won 2 before, does not mean they're going to win this one too. The 3-peat is not in the bag. That's all you need to know. It's fact. It's just not there yet.
Yeah. There are 2 very interesting storylines in this. There's obviously the Heat with the potential of getting the 3-peat. Then there's Tim Duncan with a chance of getting his 5th NBA championship. So there's a lot riding on this series. There's so much excitement. I love Game 1 personally. I was very interested in it. Besides the fact Miami made me very upset with the way they played. I watched the entire game. I saw every shot. It was awesome. It was a very, very exciting basketball game. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
It was a great game. It was extremely fun to watch. The only thing I didn't like is how LeBron acted. But other than that, it was great. A thing people have been asking me is, what is Tim Duncan's future? And I think if he wins this ring, he retires point blank. He is done. He wants to go out on top, and that's that.
Yeah, I've been talking to my friend Anthony about it, actually. Anthony, you guys know him. He's been on the show a couple times. He thinks that if Tim Duncan wins his championship, him, Greg Popovich, and Manu Ginobili will walk away from the game. And that would be absolutely crazy. I think the Spurs would still be able to bounce back. It would be a very different basketball team without Duncan, Popovich, and Ginobili. But they still have Tony Parker. Danny Green, who looked awful in the first half, he stepped it up second half. Kawhi Leonard, who everyone was talking about Kawhi Leonard before this series started. They said that Miami has no answer for Kawhi Leonard. He didn't exist last night. But he's a very good basketball player, as we know, so he's going to step it up a lot. And it's a very interesting series. There's just so much going on, so much to look out for, so much to think about. But I'm loving it. It's a good series to be a basketball fan for.
As we've discussed, Game 2 is going to be on Sunday. The AC is now working in the AT&T Center. That has been released by every single sports media. So we're going to have air in there for Game 2. LeBron, you're going to be okay. You're going to have some air. Just stay hydrated. Maybe you won't cramp up this time. This weekend's pretty exciting in Austin. We got the X Games here. They're all outside dying of the heat. But other than that, seems like a pretty cool thing to have in Austin. It's kind of exciting for us. We also have some college baseball, as I said. Texas plays this afternoon against Houston, and then Game 2 will be on Saturday. If Game 3 is necessary, that will be on Sunday. We'll find out who's going to Omaha pretty soon. Hook 'em. Have a great weekend, and as we know it, go Spurs. We'll see y'all next week, and we'll talk some more basketball and follow up on everything from this week. Have a great one, guys.